Welcome to the Game Pick Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Robin Marks. We have a special episode. We're going to be talking about sports careers with one of the most inspiring brothers that I've come across in my journey, my man Dan Titus from Yahoo. Let's get this thing going. Dan, we back.
What up?
Good to see you again, brother. Oh man.
No
Listen,
doubt.
can we just jump in and because when you sent over your blurb, your short blurb today, it was like mind-blowing to me because a lot of it like I felt because I'm going through something similar myself in my career. So just tell me about like from college to your career, in defense and what is it?
Aerospace and defense, yeah.
Air, like wild stuff. Talk to me about that. And
Yeah.
then what was that moment when you knew you had to like hit the switch and shift careers?
Yeah, so coming out of college, I came out in 2008 and it was the recession. So, it was hard for me to get a job like right out the gates. And I got fortunate that I graduated with a business degree from Virginia Tech. Shout out to my Hokies out there. Um, I got an interview with Lockheed Martin and wound up doing supply chain. I knew what it was, but I didn't really know like what procurement or subcontract management was. And essentially what that was just buying parts for satellites and missiles. So in my early years, I was like, oh, I'm kind of doing something cool. Like, I guess I'm helping the country and defend our allies abroad and internationally. And as time progressed, like I kind of moved up, riding that corporate ladder, and it was cool. Like it moved me around the country and I was doing different jobs. I went, doing project management, product management. I just got through a breadth of different things in my time there in 10 years. But one thing I realized as I got 10 years in was that like, I was never happy. Like I was cool doing a job and I got paid good. Like it was straight. It supported my lifestyle and my livelihood, which was very important to me in my 20s. But I was missing something. And I found myself, because I was working for the government in a lot of ways, like I had clearances and stuff like that. So I was working in these remote areas where there was no internet or like direct line of communication. Couldn't get on the no Wi-Fi, no internet. Like I couldn't get on the Yahoo.
No dial-up.
Bro, they might as well have been on dial-up for real. But they block everything. Like I couldn't get on Yahoo. I couldn't get on whatever other platform I was playing because they blocked it because it's like, no, y'all shouldn't be doing this. So I would literally have to leave, go into the parking lot and like set my lineups, do my waiver pickups, like strategically during lunches and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, like I'm doing too much. And like all my homies, like they all know, like I'm obsessed with this. Like I'm the commissioner of a few different leagues and I've been like championing this fantasy thing for a long time. So for me to have to like do the most just to like feel like I'm doing something, like news breaks, I'm like trying to check Twitter in a meeting with like directors and stuff. And they're like, Titus, did you get that? I'm like, let's take it offline. Like I totally missed it. Long story short, man, I just knew it wasn't for me anymore. And I was commuting like 3 hours a day and I'll come home. I'm like, nah, man, I'm checked out. So right before the pandemic, I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to do something different, man. I got the support of my wife, which I'm fortunate and blessed to have. She held me down and she's like, go chase your dream. So first thing I did was I found out where all the fantasy community meets every year. And it happened to be the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association conference in Las Vegas. And the tickets for that thing were crazy. They were like $1,000 or something. So me and a homie were like, yo, let's just go out there and post up at the bar and see what happens. So as they were letting out, I'd just be sitting there kind of, trying to introduce myself to people, kind of learn the players of the game, like who are the movers and shakers and stuff like that. And then one thing was just eye-opening to me. It was like the aha moment. It was like there was no brothers in this room. There was like maybe one, maybe two, maybe one Asian boy, and then like there was no women. There was no diversity. There was no one. It was just a bunch of white guys that I would imagine were like living in their homes with in the basement with their moms, like nerding out on fantasy. So I was like, that's cool because I think that's an opportunity. And so immediately after I went home, I applied to write for Fantasy Pros. Didn't really have much writing experience. Like I did some proposal stuff with my last job, but like there were some growing pains with it. But I learned how to write. Then I got elevated to the NBA section of it. And then COVID happened, the bubble happened, and then sports stopped. And I had to find a way to keep myself relevant. So I just started grabbing every news headline about any player that was coming out in that hiatus of the NBA and as it was trying to start up again. And so I wound up being like pretty much an NBA beat writer, stalking all of the beat writers and the insiders and stuff like that, and just re-reporting this to fantasy pros. And eventually that got me enough credibility with them to then move to football. So then I started doing game analysis for them, started doing some DFS articles, and started to just actually get a rhythm of like, okay, this is what it's like to write and create content. Then I joined a group called the Fantasy Doctors, doing video content for them because I never done video content, never had a webcam or a mic. So I went out, purchased a mic, got my setup going, and I tried to be as legit as possible and fake it till I make it. And so I just started getting my reps in, doing it on a low scale, but at least it was still on YouTube. It was still getting views. I was still trying to get my bearings in terms of like what's my cadence, what do I talk about, like all that type of stuff. And then you kind of get used to it. Then an opportunity came up for me to be a producer on a podcast, and I was like, sure, man, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can in as short amount of time as possible. So I wound up doing that a little bit. Then I was like, well, if I'm producing a podcast, I might as well start a podcast. So then I started a fantasy basketball podcast with a couple of guys in the industry. We wound up doing really well with it. We sold it to Blue Wire Podcast. And then right as we got going, I saw an alert on Twitter about someone applying for a producer job for Action Network. And I was like, I mean, that's a full-time job. I'm about to have a kid. I should probably get some benefits and things. I can't do this freelance thing forever. So I shot my shot, got an interview, did very well in it. And next thing I know, now I have a full-time job as a producer doing podcasts. And then I still have my passion for fantasy basketball. So they're like, yo, you got a podcast. Why don't you bring it to the Action Network and you can write some articles and you can also get into betting. And I'm like, perfect. That's like all the things I want to do. So I started, even though I wasn't getting paid for the extra work that I was doing on the side to like keep my passion alive, it was like, I don't care. I'm in the building, I'm working in the industry, and I still got my passion project that I'm working on. Like, it's just it's just your time management, really. And my wife was really cool about me prioritizing, like, yo, I need to like work a lot of hours to like get all this shit done. And she was very cool about it. And eventually, luck. I think my career in this industry is a lot of luck and opportunity and like grind and being in the right place at the right time. And I think that I can't understate how much networking in this industry is important. I happened to go to another FSGA conference this time as an actual like guy in the industry. Like, I work for a company and I've been here before, and now I actually paid for my ticket. Actually, I didn't pay for my tickets. My company paid for my ticket. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was a nice little come up there. But I wound up talking to Andy Behrens, at the bar, just chopping it up late night after something. And I didn't know that this conversation would lead to him introducing me to my now boss and having a conversation about bringing me in potentially as a writer. And then when they thought they were going to bring me as a writer, they were like, actually, we might have an opportunity for a full-time analyst, our first time ever investing in fantasy basketball. So I think it was just the stars aligning for me at the right time to really not only pursue my dream and my passion to talk about sports every day, but also get out of the life that I didn't like. And now I'm just appreciating every moment that I'm blessed to have. And there's not many opportunities in this space for not only creators in general, but especially Black creators. So now my mission is it's beyond cool. I made it. Now, how can I put everybody else on? How can I build a pipeline for minority and underserved communities to get in the door and show that they can do this thing like everybody else? Because this wasn't a career path that I even knew existed when I graduated from college. Had I known, I probably would have tried to do it earlier. So now any person that I mentor, I tell them, if you're not happy in your situation and you have the ability to change up your situation, take that opportunity and do the risk now before you actually have bills and things to pay for. You know what I mean? Like, don't get a family and try to figure all this thing out. Like, I was fortunate that it worked out this way, but take your risks early on in life. Pursue your passions and your dreams, because it's wild, man. I didn't actually think that I could get to this point, and I'm still pinching myself every day. The fact that I'm living, talking about fantasy, a game within a game. Like, I just never thought that would be a thing.
That's wild. Um, Really quick, I just wanted to share with you. I was in the nonprofit sector for about 10 years, like going up the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Like second in command of one of the biggest buildings in the country. You know what I mean? And when the pandemic hit, that's when I had my reset. And
Mm.
sadly enough, about the same time, I lost my older brother.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you, man. And when he was like on his deathbed, essentially, right? I didn't know that at the time. We were
Yeah,
talking on the phone, and he was telling me about this gaming channel he wanted to start. So me, I was doing
that's
like,
so interesting.
yeah, I was doing like coaching with musicians and doing just a lot of digital marketing stuff, and I was helping him. But the whole time I was like, man, I need to start that fantasy thing. You know what I'm saying? Really,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
if
yeah.
this man is like with a heart condition on his
That's
deathbed,
right.
with the motivation to make this gaming channel, I'm gonna do it. So I went and started it October 20th of 2021. He passed away November 7th, 2021, and never got to
Man,
see it. So
wow.
anytime I rock, like he's right here with me. Every time I
It's so
smile
dope.
or laugh or something, because the jokes are him. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And I know that that's my thing. And it's really, I'm really grateful for you because in it, like you, I'm in the digital space. I have that conference written on the wall over here because I know that
Good.
I need to be there.
No,
And
you're going to go next time. Like
yeah,
I will see to it, and you will not have to pay for
yeah.
it.
And that's the thing too.
Trust me. Like I got you.
When you talk about
Say
networking,
less.
when you talk about networking, Dan, I think that's the thing for me when because people reach out to me and I'm not like where I need to be yet, but
Yeah.
I'm heading in the right direction. People are
Yep.
like, "How? Like, what did you do?" And my thing was, I just always take my shot. If it
Hmm.
and I thank God for Josh Lloyd because if it wasn't for Josh Lloyd, I wouldn't have connected with the inner circle of fantasy.
Exactly.
I was
Right.
trying, and I'll share a quick story before I ask you another question. I was like, how can I get on Josh's show? So I'm on my TikTok and I do a trend video. You know that Drake joint? I know we talked about Drake. It's
Yeah.
like 21. Can you
You
do
to do
something
something
fun?
for
Right?
me.
So I do that trend and I'm like, on the text, it's like, Josh Lloyd, can you do something for me? Can you invite me on your show to talk Dynasty Points Leagues for me?
Yeah,
The
that's
the
hilarious.
the man hit me up the same day. It was like, when you
Wow.
want to pull up?
That's great, man.
So my question to you is, what words of encouragement do you have, not just for people of color, but just any young person, especially who's out there like, I want to find my way. This is the thing I want to do. Is it even a path? What advice would you give them?
I would say first hit up any person that you admire or that you're looking up to in the space. I think that there were people that paved the way for me. You know, I always used to watch Stuart Scott, and I'm like, yo, that guy's funny as hell, and like I always want to be like him. But then I started seeing people that are like actually doing it. Corey Parson is a guy that fantasy exec was the first guy I've ever saw black guy talking about betting and fantasy, and he was one of the first people to follow me on Twitter. And I hit him up and I was like, yo, I'm new to this space. I just started writing. Like, let me know what I need to do. And like he was cool with giving me the playbook of the game to like how I should navigate it. And I think that's the one thing that's underrated about this industry is that everyone's willing to help. So I would say don't be afraid to reach out to anyone. Most people are very cool about at least giving you a platform or an opportunity to prove yourself, or if you need any help to connect with anyone else, they can be that bridge for you. Because I think that that's really important to building out this industry. And I say, don't get discouraged, man. Like one of the things that, and I'm just going to be dead honest here. Like it was hard for me to like be a creator and be front facing. Like I don't have a huge following on Twitter or on social media in general because I was never doing it. I was working for the government. Like I didn't want them to know what I was really doing. So like I was operating like 007, man. Like you don't know who
Zero,
I am.
zero
Like
dark 30. You doing
yeah,
zero dark 30.
I'm running it with the ops, man. Like super low key, man.
In a
Like
silo.
yeah, you know. So yeah, at that point, so it was hard for me. It's still hard for me to like try to push the narratives and like put content out there religiously and try to create try to just portray your personality and yourself and have that shine through organically and have people coming back. And it's something that I'm learning, and I think that's a continual journey. But you got to put yourself out there to some degree, and I think that that's where I was pretty good at in terms of reaching out to people, not being able to say, not being afraid to say no to certain things, but also knowing when to say yes is also very important. Like you don't want to, you got to do some grunt work to power through this. And there's going to be a lot of annoying days of probably not making that much money. But just know that there's an end goal in sight, and just keep charting to that path and you'll get there. A lot of sweat equity is put into this, but I think if you have the right combination of creativity and versatility, being having a multitude of skill sets, like don't just be a writer, don't just be a content creator, don't just be a producer, don't just be a showrunner, be everything. Like there's no the world right now with the tools that we have out there is empowering you to do everything yourself. And the more that you can lean into yourself, that means that you may not even have to be reliant on a bigger name company to bring you along in this journey. You could do what you're doing, create it yourself, put an LLC together, and now you're running your own business. You're keeping all of the profit, and all of that work you're putting in is going to the betterment of you, not anyone else. So I think my goal in the future is this is great working for Yahoo. I love it. But one of the reasons why I got out of Lockheed Martin was not to work for the man again. And I'm kind of working for the man. But eventually I want to start my own thing and, potentially have an opportunity to bring in other people to learn, cultivate whatever they want, and then go out and go do the same thing that I did. So I think that's the bigger end goal here. And I think anyone that's trying to get into the industry, just reach out. Just start there. If you have questions on how to get going, you don't really know, ask the question. If you need any help with resources, equipment, stuff like that, like we can make things happen, man. Like we're not as far away from reach as it seems.
I got one more question before we get out of here. This is more like a personal thing. It's something that I'm going
Sure.
through in my journey. So I started out with fantasy basketball, but I'm getting pulled to do more betting content. You know what I mean? Talk to me about, you said do everything. Talk to
Mm-hmm.
me a little bit about creators who are one dimensional, and should they branch out and, whether it's writing or creating content, try to just look at fantasy as an overall umbrella as opposed to niching down. What is your position on that, and how do you feel about that?
I think I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't go the niche route. I noticed that. I mean, I've been playing fantasy football for about as long as I've been playing fantasy basketball, so my fantasy football knowledge is pretty strong as well. But I noticed that people's followings grow faster in fantasy football, but it's also very saturated. The reason I stuck out and the reason I got the opportunity that I did was because I was talking about something that no one else was talking about in the room, and so my position of of becoming an expert at basketball has now lent me the opportunity to go talk about other things, betting, football, baseball. And I think it's really good to master one thing initially, but like also have a broad open mind of where's the money going towards, what are people investing in? Um, where's the attention going? There's ways to slot in your specialty, your specialization into the broader scheme of a roadmap. And I think it's just about understanding where you fit in the bigger picture. But I think that there is a piece that if you master something and get great at it, they're going to ask you to do more of something else. Like it just naturally happens. That's the development, the progression path. Like look at Mina Kimes. Like she started out, she was a senior writer. Now she's on NFL Net. Now she's on NFL Live. Now she's doing color commentary. Now she's about to be one of the lead NFL analysts. Like her progression has just been crazy. She's also a superstar, but just saying, like if you do good work and people respect you for the work that you do, you're only going to be asked to do more. So I think initially do something really good that no one else is doing. Stand out, be unique, do what's natural for you, and don't just join the masses because it's cool. Like do your own thing and do what's natural to you.
Yep. Well said, sir. Well said. Any closing words on this topic? I know we've been hanging out for a minute. I'm super grateful for you.
Yeah, man, this is way better than what I was gonna be doing on Friday night. So for y'all know, I hit up Robin before because I was like, "Yo, bro, there's like a chance I might be at the Drake concert. Don't know if I'm be able to do this." Man, them prices didn't come down, man. So that's why we here right now. And this has been a way more fruitful conversation, man. Like I just would have been singing 21. Can you do something for me?
All
Like it
right, my
would have been
brother.
cool, but like, nah, man, this is great, and I appreciate you having me on. Real talk, real conversation, and not only being able to talk fantasy basketball, but real life too. This has been dope, man. And next time you need me to talk about anything else, like I'm more than happy to do it, bro. Let's get it.
I appreciate you. Stay on for me, Dan. I'm gonna just close this out. So you got it from Dan Titus. Make sure you reach out to your favorite creators to get those contacts. Don't forget, play the waivers, set your lineups, and follow Game Pick, you freaking fantasy nerd. Peace.